I'm always appreciative when we get questions about the work that we're doing or have done at Tammy Dowley-Blackman Group. It's always fun to be in conversation. I always learn so many things when people ask questions about the work we do. And of course, I learn so much from each of you when you ask questions as well about the work you're doing. In this case, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Greenlight Fund. This is one of our green case studies. We call it green because it's the color of the environment, renewal, transformation, and in all the work that we're doing around infrastructure building, in particular under TDB Group Strategic Advisory, which is one of three brands under Tammy Dowley-Blackman Group. It really is focused on infrastructure. It's really focused on enhancing what our partners already bring to the table and helping them to improve their work and to be able to continue to serve those they are working on behalf of even better. In the case of the Greenlight Fund, we were asked to come in and to do a couple of things. Greenlight Fund, if you don't know it, is this really interesting organization. It's over 20 years old, and it was founded by two people that are just really were smart and thinking about how we could go to solving poverty. They don't have all the answers. They would never profess to, and they would not tell you that the Greenlight Fund has done everything it can to solve poverty, but it has certainly done incredible work around this issue, and they've done it in a very deep way with many team members over the years. Greenlight Fund was founded by Margaret Hall, who actually just retired after 20 years of leading the organization, and also John Simon. John has been the chief fundraiser in so many ways and has brought so many people to the table across the country and work hand in hand with the internal fundraising team. And Margaret and John really have thought a great deal about what would this world look like? What could the U.S. look like if we could could alleviate poverty? As I said, they certainly would never say that they have done everything that can be done. Poverty still exists, but they certainly have done a great deal in the communities in which they work. So Greenlight Fund, when we were working with them, was up to about 11 in organizations in the U.S., and they are constantly adding new ones each year. And the idea here is creating sites very specific to each city. So whether you're in Boston or Detroit or you're in the Twin Cities, that you will be able to see what that city needs on the ground, and you're working with partners on the ground. And so they are not from their national team in Boston trying to tell each of those cities what is best, but rather trying to be in service of each of the cities and trying to help those executive directors be able to have the tools they need to do their work. So whether it's fundraising, whether it's hiring, making decisions about the partners they'll work with, there's an entire process that they've standardized over the years for how they do their work, but really thinking about what it means to be deeply engaged in the community. The project we were asked to do was much more internal, again, to help them do their work better externally, helping them to think through how they could work together even better as a team. Every time you have a national office and you've got offices across the country, you're having to really think critically about what it means to be in community. You're not physically together. There's so much work that's happening separately day to day. So how do you come together and be able to talk about the work you're doing, figure out the commonalities, be able to, again, focus on the tools that'll be useful regardless of which city you're in? And because I had actually been executive director in two different organizations that had a similar model where there was a national office and your separate cities and executive directors, I really understood intimately what it meant to be a site executive director, but I also understood what it meant to be part of the national team trying to be in support. And so our role, Tammy Dowley-Blackman Group and TDB Group Strategic Advisory more specifically, was to help the management team to think through some of those tools they might bring to the executive directors, while also working with the executive directors to think about what they could use on the ground and what they might have in conversation with one another. We were also helping the team to think through their diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, and belonging committee, something they already had, but they again wanted to do some more work to enhance it. They wanted a set of outside eyes with additional experiences from other projects to be able to help them think through what they might do to enhance the committee. So everything from creating a charter to creating bylaws bylaws, what should be the rotation of committee members, how they might create a learning agenda, how they could check for their progress. We help them to think through some of those things. But the work we did with the management team is particularly important because, again, working through management teams' dynamics is so important for all the other work that's going to happen. So, in this case, the team had just completed a strategic plan and they needed to implement, to operationalize that strategic plan. Sometimes when we work with teams, we'll have done all of that work, the strategic plan. Now we're helping them to operationalize the strategic plan through a business plan or looking at the team, looking to hire. We can end up doing all those pieces. But in this particular case, the Greenlight Fund had already finished a strategic plan and they were looking to operationalize it. They wanted to center equity and they were also thinking about how they could continue to build their management team. And so we were asked to help them to look at both national but also to provide support to their executive directors to help them think about how they were centering equity. Again, not cookie cutter because each of the cities are so different. They couldn't tell you what you should do in Atlanta would be the same as what you should do in Denver or what you should do in Philadelphia or what you should do in Newark or what you should do in Boston. They're going to be all different. But again, wanted some tools that were similar enough that you could be useful in those conversations across cities and that it would also help the national team to better understand what was happening on the ground at each of the sites. And so this project was over the course of about a year, and we were there trying to be of assistance in any way we could, but really looking at management team, looking at leadership style differences, using some tools like the DISC profile, helping them to think through how to create a space for their executive directors, which existed before we came on board, but helped to expand the conversation of what that meeting, which was held monthly for executive directors, how it might be used by creating a very thoughtful learning agenda. And then also creating a learning agenda for junior team members as well, so that they would also be able to experience growth. So it was our pleasure to be a part of the work that Greenlight Fund is doing. They continue to grow. They continue to work on issues around alleviating poverty. They continue to fundraise. They continue to ask the hard questions about what does it look like if we focus on really deeply on an issue. How can we do that work, including other partners, including other stakeholders, and listening to the community intently. So thank you, Greenlight Fund, for inviting us in. And I'm so excited that we got a chance to be a part of the work and excited to see what Greenlight Fund does going forward.